Told Katie what you're supposed to tell her yet today?
We can hear it again.
What's today?
Valentine's Day.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Valentine's.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Pastor.
We've already done it. Don't worry, guys.
We did. He did good. We celebrated on Friday. Kind of date night.
I did good?
Yeah, you did.
Thanks, honey.
You did. It was sweet.
Well, we were talking about I was just telling them about the home run derby, 28 home runs in the first round. It's a record. It's never been done before or since. Tell me a little bit about the home run derby.
It was just okay. Of course, it was great. It was awesome. The story is Clay Council, 71 years old, was throwing batting practice to me. And at these events, there's always the lady that's running around with the headset on and the clipboard, just chaotic, pulling people in different directions. So she grabs us, says, "All right, 2 minutes, you're on. Don't go anywhere." So I said, "All right, Clay, we got to go." He said, "Where are we going?" She said, "Don't go." And I said, "We got to go pray about this." And so we go underneath Yankee Stadium. We start praying. We come out. We have the first round. And, obviously it was a good first round. The second round, I didn't really have to hit, but I wanted to kind of stay loose and warm. And then before the third round, they had us mic'd up, and I forgot about this until I heard it on, I didn't say anything bad, until I heard it on, the show later. And, I was milling around behind the plate, and I said, "Lord," I said, "if you want me to win this thing, I'll be happy to. But if not," I said, "we've accomplished what we want to accomplish."
That's great.
And after that last out of that round was made, obviously I didn't win, but it hit my heart that he's not worried about how, the accolades, the awards. He's worried about how I glorify him and everything that I do. And that night, Yankee Stadium, 55,000, millions of people at home, I got to share Christ with all those folks. And that's what the night was about.
That's great. It's great. How was that day for you?
It was so much fun. It was so crazy. When I found out he was going to be in the home run derby, it was about 3 weeks before it actually took place. So I started praying, and those 3 weeks and that whole day, I was just praying, "Lord, please let him at least hit one home run." And so as soon as he started, hitting, and he hit that first one, I was praising God, and then I just was in awe of what God did that night. It was so incredible.
I told her I was glad she didn't pray for 10. Might still be hidden.
Well, God did exceedingly abundantly above all you could ask or think. That's for sure.
Absolutely, he did. And that was the verse he kept bringing to my mind. Like, it just completely blew me away.
Okay, well, let's go back a little bit, because I know it hadn't always been this way. You signed, when you were 18 years old, right out of high school, $4 million signing bonus, largest ever at the time. Were you a Christian at that time?
No. I grew up going to church on occasion with my aunt and uncle on the weekends. Most of the time I was playing sports on the weekends, so I didn't go to church. So if I could give any advice to parents right now, it would be, if you're playing ball on the weekends, do some kind of devotion, stay in the Word with your children. It's very important. So I didn't do that. And, when I got drafted, I went off to play rookie ball, and I just knew something was missing in my life. I had a couple things happen while I was there in West Virginia, and just felt like I knew what I needed in my life, and that was a relationship with Jesus. And so when I came back, I went to my aunt and uncle's house, who I grew up going to church when I went with. I accepted Christ in their living room, but I didn't do anything to grow spiritually. I didn't get in the Word, I didn't pray, I didn't fellowship, and I didn't really know how to do these things, because I was, new to what I was doing. So next couple years were good as far as baseball went, but as spiritually wise, I just knew that I needed the Lord, but I didn't know how to pursue Him and
So you prayed the prayer.
Yes.
Asked Jesus in your heart, but you really didn't grow then. You didn't get in a fellowship. You didn't read your Bible, any of that. Okay, here's a kind of maybe a curveball. Can you hit a curveball?
Absolutely.
Okay. No fear. Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Not all the time, but most of the time. I'm a free swinger.
Let's edit that part. Okay, here it is. Do you have any tattoos?
A couple here and there. I got a lot, yes.
Well, so what happened? Because I know that's really part of your testimony. You kind of started hanging out in some places you really shouldn't have been hanging out in.
Yeah, I got in a car accident with my parents, and the two things that were consistent in my life were baseball my parents. And I was separated from those two things. And instead of being able to fall back on the foundation of a relationship with Christ, which I should have been building all along from the time I accepted him, and I didn't do that, so I didn't have anything to fall back on that was consistent in my life other than those things. So I started looking in different areas. And, I talked to kids and talked to parents, obviously people, places, and things. Parents teach that to their kids. If I'm not doing what these people are doing at first, if I hang out there long enough, I'm going to start doing those things. Just like the old saying, product of your environment. That's very true. And so I started hanging out in tattoo parlors, and I was getting tattoos of demon faces and devil faces, and then Christ on a cross on the back of my leg, and not doing it intentionally, but that was what was going on in my head and my spiritual aspect of my life. And spending a lot of time there. Went out one night with the guys. They invited me out and had my first drink of alcohol and had my first drug the same night. And then that led to, shortly thereafter, suspensions from baseball for 3.5 years.
Wow. So here you are with all this talent, but because of the drugs and all that stuff, you get suspended from Major League Baseball. So, Katie, now tell me, when did you come into the picture?
Well, Josh and I actually met in high school, and everybody knew who he was. He was the good boy that didn't do anything wrong, didn't drink, didn't go to parties, didn't go to prom.
And why do you keep saying prom? I could get a date.
Go
you
to
make it sound like I couldn't get a date. Dang,
it's because he
could have gone if he wanted to.
Gone, but he was so focused on baseball.
Okay, yeah, and I could have too. I want you to know. Okay.
I went. It really wasn't that great. But
I'm glad I didn't go.
He was very focused on baseball, and everybody had a lot of respect for him. The fact that he didn't do anything wrong. But I never saw him play. By the way, never went to any games in high school. Didn't really know how talented he was. I knew he got drafted, number 1, so I thought that meant he probably had some talent, but was not in that loop at all. So about 3 years after high school, he came over to my house. He was home for shoulder surgery, and I did not even hardly recognize him. Like when he walked in the door, I just thought he was so cute.
I'd filled out a little bit.
He had filled out, and I thought he was so cute. And then we started talking, and he was funny. I'm like, where did this personality come from? So we dated. I was pleasantly surprised. We dated for just a couple months, and then we broke up. That was kind of the beginning of what I thought was just experimenting with drugs. I had no idea that he was, actually addicted to drugs, but we broke up. And about 1.5 years later, we got back together. And I asked him, I said, how are you doing with that other stuff that was going on? And he said, oh, it's over. And me being very naive to addiction, I just assumed that it was over. So we dated for about 4 months and got married, and he stayed sober the whole time we dated.
I really thought it was over too. I really
understand
did.
that.
Yeah,
a lot of us
that way.
that have a bondage or an addiction like that think we're over it, but really, without Christ, we really can't get over it.
Right, because he's the one that has to make that true transformation.
Yeah.
About 2 months after we got married, he relapsed, and it was a 24-hour relapse, so it wasn't long, but it was enough to just completely turn my world upside down. I just found out I was having a baby, and I was excited about that, and then he relapsed, and I'm like, what in the world? It just completely shook me. So I spent the next 3 days just in prayer over him, over our marriage, asking God to give me some direction. And I really felt like he was laying on my heart that he was going to allow Josh to play baseball again, but it was not going to be just for baseball, that he was going to give him a platform to share his testimony and to share Christ with others. So I told Josh that. And he had just relapsed, and I had never seen him play baseball before. So he was thinking, okay, my wife is crazy. And he kind of